Here's the thing. We're a team of thieves. And when you do this, you're bound to make enemies. Sometimes those enemies come looking for revenge. Truth be told, we helped the wrong person steal the wrong thing. We didn't mean to unleash the greatest evil the world has ever known. But we're gonna fix it.
So how do we pull that off? Figure it out over a drink?
Probably best.
So in the past couple of years, more games have become video game or movie adaptations. And now they are trying D&D again. So I originally was thinking that this movie was gonna suck, but after seeing the trailer, I was going, you know what, this looks interesting. Because the first time they tried this, it was in 2000, and I haven't seen that version, but I do have a family member who has seen it, and they said it was awful. So, kind of stayed away from it. And I'm also not big into Dungeons and Dragons. I tried it when there was two times where I tried Dungeons and Dragons. The first time I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I tried it with family. And I had a character, and I played for maybe 20 minutes, lost interest, and went to go play Batman Arkham City. Because I was, still little, and it was during that age where I was like, you know what, I need to see visuals. Like, I can't picture this. I need to see visuals. And then the other time is when I was in high school, and it was break time, and a classmate of mine brought his Dungeons and Dragons kit, and I remember it was me and a couple of other people, and we started out in a tavern, and I was like so drunk, I was slurring words so much. And we had to go get this magic sword from a bunch of skeletons in the woods. And we did it, and then we came back, and in the tavern, there was a robbery when we just walked in. But unfortunately, the bell rang, and break time was over, so people were starting to come to class. So one of the classmates who played this wizard who, each time he cast a spell, it was a different spell, and he didn't know what the outcome was going to be. So he wanted to, save the day, but instead he pretty much threw a fireball, killing everyone in the tavern, blowing it up, and that was the end of our adventure. So it was quite an adventure. So that's my experience with Dungeons and Dragons, but I do have family that do like D&D. So I was a bit going into this. I was a bit going like, I don't know. It's just not for me. But the casting came out, and I was like, okay, like that's a pretty cool cast. Then the directors came out, and the directors of this are John Francis Daley and Johnathan Goldstein, who I saw 2 of their other movies. I saw their sequel-ish Vacation movie, which was okay. And then I watched their movie Game Night, which was so surprisingly funny. And it's one of those movies where I'm like, I need to show this to everybody because it's just that funny. And it was so shocking. So when I heard that they were going to do this, I was like, okay, like we'll see what they do, and especially with the cast. And then I saw the trailer and I went, okay, this looks intriguing. I'm in for it. And now that I've seen it, it was a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. So like I said, these two guys, they directed the movie. But the movie's about a group of thieves. They end up dealing with the wrong person, and they have to basically save everybody. So, no pressure. But it's that typical, like, okay, you messed with the wrong people and now we have to stop it again. But it's a rapid fire movie, and it works. It works extremely well. I mean, it's mainly four main thieves in this. You have Chris Pine, who I like quite a bit. I think his portrayal as Kirk in the Star Trek reboot trilogy, I think, was great. I wonder if they're going to make a fourth one. Michelle Rodriguez, who I only seen in a couple of the Fast and Furious movies, and I know she's in some of the Resident Evil movies, but I only saw the first one, and the first one was just okay to me. So, but we'll see. Justice Smith, who I didn't see Detective Pikachu. I haven't seen that. Mainly because I'm not a big Pokemon fan. I know, blasphemy. But I heard it was really good, so I'll watch it. And Sophia Lillis, who was in it Chapter 2, which, I personally really like the first one, and the second one was not bad. But they're the main four thieves who get roped up into this situation. And the villain is, just going to throw one of them out. It's Hugh Grant, who's best known for doing more, let's say, romantic comedy type stuff. And even, I think he said, like, yeah, I'm so sick and tired of being cast in these movies. So it was a bit surprising and a bit, great to see him kind of not play the role that you would expect him to be, especially being in more romantic comedy type movies. But everybody was really good in this. The comedy was really funny. Like, I can't count how many times I was laughing during this. The action, a lot of it is CGI, but a lot of it is also practical. And I started noticing that, like, as I'm watching, I'm going, that's a practical effect. I'm like, cool. So it's not mostly CGI. And they brought, reading up about Dungeons and Dragons, and of course seeing this with family who know Dungeons and Dragons. I was asking them, like, so how accurate is this to the game? It went to what you remember. And they said it was pretty accurate. Like, they got it down. So that's quite nice. Me being someone that's, I love like role-playing type games. Like, I love the Outer Worlds. I really like Fallout. Played this one that was a Star Wars one. But when it came to Dungeons and Dragons, I really had no real experience with it. So I was going into this like completely blind, going, yeah, I'm not going to get any of this. And that's what I was really worried about. But man, they managed to do a really, really good job. Like, I was pleasantly surprised on how good this actually was. And it like I said, it's funny. I mean, like I said, I can't count how many times I was laughing. And there's especially a part, I'm not going to try not to spoil too much, where, they go into a dungeon, and there's also a part where they encounter a dragon. And I couldn't stop laughing because of the way they did it. And it was just too funny. So this, I was shocked. I mean, I was expecting this to be at least decent. But man, did they totally fooled me. So I pleasantly surprised. And, I will say this, there are some, like, the storylines where I was like, okay, I kind of expected it to go this route. But it didn't take away from, the adventure movie, because this isn't a movie that's trying to take itself seriously, like what I've heard with the one from the 2000s did. It took itself way too seriously, and it was terrible. This one, it's taking itself seriously, but just enough, and it's like, okay, this is a fantasy adventure film. The story, it's nothing to like, it's not going to be like Oscar worthy for story, but it's what they managed to do with the story and how it goes. It does feel like somewhat like a point A to point B type of movie in some regards, but I personally liked it. I was pleasantly surprised on how good this actually was. So I personally give this a grade. And they could do more. Like, if they wanted to find another story with these main characters, they could, if they wanted to. Or they can do something like what American Horror Story does. Like, every season, it's the same actors, but they're playing different characters. Or you have completely different characters and completely different actors, and you can roll with that. But this movie worked because they got, it was just enough action, it was just enough comedy, and it also had the adventure feel. I was talking to some family about this, and after they watched it, they went, I can't tell you how many times I've been in their shoes. I've been in the character's shoes where, the characters will be doing something, and you go, oh my God, I've been through that. Like, there's so many times where that's happened to me. So according to that, they nailed it. So this is doing extremely well, and I'm glad to see it. And we could see more. And I personally really enjoyed it and didn't expect to like it as much as I did.
This one's dangerous. But whatever happens, we'll be ready.
What is it exactly that you bring to this?
I'm a planner. I make plans.
You've already made the plan, so...
If the existing plan fails, I make a new plan.
So you make plans that fail?
No.
He also plays the lute.
Not relevant.